The following program may contain subject matter and language suitable for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Recording.
It's weird to me that I'm in the middle, by the way, because
Don't worry about it. You're always in the middle, Lou. You're a middle guy. So here is episode 10 of season 8 of the Meltdown. Thank you. And welcome back to the Meltdown. This is episode number 10, the finale episode of season 8, and I'm joined by my good friend Lewis.
Hello.
And Jeffrey.
Yes.
I'm Normando, and we decided actually to film this episode in our corporate limousine because we just had so much fucking money.
It's crazy.
And, it was
crazy.
nuts.
I bought a bear today.
I was going to say I bought a palm tree, and that's not even funny. So we just,
on the upside, you can play with my bear.
I can play with your bear, and it'll
A bear. That's how much money I have. Bear money.
Yeah, bear with me. No, there's a bear with me. So we're doing this whole episode today on driving, bad drivers, shitty drivers. It's our round table episode, if you will. And we've all got stories, I'm sure.
Do we?
And now to start things off...
Wait, about driving?
Yes, about driving. Yes. To start things off, we are going to be looking at some Meltdown fun facts. Okay, so we've actually got 10 surprising facts about Canadian transportation. All right?
Okay.
So here's number 1. He wasn't the first. Great way to start off, eh?
Huh.
But he was darn close. Frederick Baldwin Casey Walker became the 7th person to pilot a plane and the first Canadian and Commonwealth subject to do so. On March 12, 1908 at Hammondsport, you'll get there, New York, he flew a plane called the Red Wing, a biplane with the propeller located behind the wing. It flew a distance of 97.2 meters before flipping to its side and crashing. And you had a comment.
I have so many questions here. First of all, was he also known as the guy who has too many names? First of all.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
What is he, Charles Nelson Emerson Riley? What's that guy name?
Yeah.
The third, remember?
Yeah.
Charles Nelson Riley.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how is the engine behind the wing?
Again, that's probably why it crashed. All right.
So,
Our
now
next-
he's a successful pilot.
Our next Canadian
Yes.
transportation fact. The first flight in Canada occurred in Baddeck, Nova Scotia on February 23rd, 1909. The silver-wing biplane called the Silver Dart was piloted by J.A.D. McCurdy. It flew 800 meters at an average speed of
Could it
65
just not be piloted by Kevin? Could it just not be
kilometers
that?
per hour. The Silver Dart flew 200 flights before it was damaged beyond repair. Yes, I know. Yes, J.E.D. What did each initial stand for? Why do all these pilots have 4 names?
I would also like to point out that damage beyond repair
Yeah.
makes no sense, right?
Well, it means it can't be repaired.
No,
There's too much damage.
It's actually past that. It comes full circle to being repairable. You see what I mean? It's very metaphysical.
I think it's damage
That, by the way,
beyond
one of the few
repair,
times I
but
used my
not
philosophy
beyond
degree.
replace,
Right there.
right?
My parents are super proud.
All right, good. So our third Canadian transport fact, because we're trying to keep it Canadian.
Yep.
The R100 airship was the first and only rigid-hull airship to
Yeah,
ever
it was.
fly in Canada. After a 4-day flight from England, the airship moored at St. Hubert, Quebec. No, not the chicken place. On August 1st,
great would that have been, though?
1930, it's estimated that more than 1 million people went to see it there.
First of all, I just love the picture of a small town of French Canadian people as this giant balloon is pulling up. That's fantastic. What the hell is that? The guy take the balloon, it's all of a sudden very tied to the church. By the way, I am French Canadian, so everybody settle in.
All right.
know that.
I don't even know if
I'm lying. But I went to a French Canadian school from the age of like 0.
I apologize if we don't get through all 10 facts today.
We're not gonna.
But I'm going to try damn hard.
All right.
Number 4, the Avro Canada C-102 jetliner was a first in many respects, built by Avro Canada in 1949. It was the first Canadian jet to fly and the first commercial jet in North America, and the second in the world, just 2 weeks behind the first. The prototype's jet's first flight was over Toronto's Malton Airport.
Malton.
I don't know why I said that.
Thank you for helping.
Wait,
Norm,
you're from
Jeff.
Toronto there, Norm?
It's like you had a stroke mid-sentence. And landed in Toronto's Malton Airport.
Okay. I gotta do that line again. The prototype's jet's first flight was over Toronto's Malton Airport on August 10, 1949.
Oh,
The following year,
Yeah.
the plane was the first to make an airmail delivery by jet on April 18, 1949.
Wait a minute.
On a flight from Toronto to New York. And
So some guy with too much money is like, I need some A&W onion rings. Fly that shit over to me.
well, no, how do you deliver mail?
Why would
by
you deliver
jet?
one meal?
Mail.
Oh,
But then how do you deliver mail by jet? Like, this is the thing. Yeah, by the time it hits you, you go to catch it, it's coming at you 500
So the guy tied the
bucks.
balloon dead out of nowhere, mail hit me in there.
A lot of men decapitated people in those
Wow,
days.
man alive. That makes no
You
sense.
honestly thought I said meal?
I did. I was like, that's the biggest waste of resources ever.
I was wondering why you were equating onion rings with
trying to figure it out.
opening a letter. I don't.
Because I just pictured them
All right.
opening
Now I get it.
the back door of the plane is just like onion rings.
Oh my God. Okay,
They're cold.
fact number 5. Trains are an important part of the foundation of our nation, as Jeff will attest, and Canada's first railway was opened in 1836 between La Prairie and Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, Quebec.
Which is near St. Hubert.
Yes, it was called the Champlain and St. Lawrence Railroad since it connected the St. Lawrence River to Lake Champlain.
What year was that?
That was 1836. Prior to the railway's official opening, test runs of the locomotives were conducted at night, so not to frighten locals.
Not to frighten locomotives?
I swear to God, I heard a big grumbling bear.
Because some of the locals will have motives that are not attached to the locomotive.
Okay. Yeah, now this is an interesting one.
Yep.
The buzz these days over electric cars seems a little funny when you consider the nation's first electric car was built more than 100 years ago.
Shut up.
In 1893.
That can't be right, dude.
Using a battery and motor designed by William Still from Frederick B.
And a small Filipino boy inside the engine.
Listen, this guy's name. Using a battery and motor Using a battery and motor designed by William Still, Frederick B. Featherstone,
Were there just more names in the olden days?
commissioned the Dixon Carriage Works to build it. The two-person car was capable of about 25 kilometers per hour.
Huh.
There, we got through that one. Here's a really short one.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
Well, I was just going to say what's interesting to me about that is one of the guys' names was Dixon, and if you know anything about the Nordic countries, it's always something son,
Yeah.
right? So Olive son or whatever.
Yeah.
So that guy's dad was probably a very nice guy.
Well, no, it was the Dixon Carriage Works.
Yeah, so Dixon.
D-I-X-O-N.
Oh, that's not the same.
No. And moving on. The first successful gasoline-powered car in Canada was built by George Foot Foss in Sherbrooke, Quebec in 1896.
You guys' name's
Foot Foss.
Foot Foss.
Yeah, I've had that before. There's a salve you can get. I'm afraid Timmy's got foot
I love
foss.
that it's not a cream, it's a salve. What are you, Asterix? Why do you have a salve? That's hilarious. My druid uncle has made it with hemlock and bitterroot. All roots are better, by the way. But,
Oh my God, we've only got like 3 more to go.
okay, we're so close.
Number 8, the nation's first production gasoline-powered car to be put into production was the Leroy, which debuted in 1902. What is funny about that so far?
They debut a car and they name it Leroy. That's hilarious to me.
Okay,
It might just be me.
I thought I mispronounced
It's like naming it
debut.
Luigi.
Fewer than 20 of the cars were produced by the Leroy Manufacturing Company of Berlin, Ontario.
Wait, are you saying
Now-
Leroy?
Well, it says Leroy.
Is there a space between the
no,
E and the R?
No.
All right.
So it's Leroy? I don't know.
I'm just wondering.
Okay. Fewer than 20 of the cars were produced by the Leroy Manufacturing Company of Berlin, Ontario, which is now known as Kitchener, before the company closed in 1904. The cost of a brand new Leroy in 1903, a mere $650.
That's actually higher than I thought it would be.
But the average annual income at the time was about $275.
Annual income?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Next time you think about hating on unions, maybe just remember that.
Yeah. Paid on onions instead.
That's right. That's right. That's
right.
exactly right.
2 more to go. Can we do it?
No.
Number 9, the Trans-Canada Highway,
Uh-huh.
which runs 7,821 kilometers from St. John's to Victoria,
Should have
is
driven.
one of the world's longest highways,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
you've
it is.
driven, along with the Trans-Siberian Highway and Australia's Highway 1. When the road opened in BC's Rogers Pass on July 30th, 1962, more than 3,000 kilometers of it remained unpaved.
Wow.
Eventually completed in 1970,
Wow.
the Trans-Canada cost a total of $1 billion to build.
That's
And By
surprising.
today's standard, that
That's
would
nothing.
cost, what, $20 billion,
Yeah.
maybe? Yeah. All right, and the last fact, which is a really short one, thank
Yeah, that is
God.
one long-ass highway.
Yeah, it's a long-ass fact. If someone tells you to hit the road in Saskatchewan, be prepared for a very long walk. The province has more road surface than any other in the country, a total of 250,000 kilometers. Do you know, one of the things I'm hearing, a lot of reports are what people are doing, is they're coming into these charging stations and people are bringing their cars in, unplugging other cars
Wow.
and sticking it in themselves in their own car.
That's not
And
nice.
and again, the technology brings with it a whole set of issues.
Well, here's because what that touches upon, I think, is there is an unspoken social contract, right?
Yeah.
In other words, there is, or at least there should be, or has been, or I don't want to sound like an old, like an old guy or whatever, but there are a set of rules that people understand inherently when, in terms of how to behave or how you should behave in public or
Yeah,
in
yeah.
certain places or spaces or whatever. And it's a matter of respect, in my opinion, right? So the notion that there's a new technology would imply that there's a new set of societal graces that need to be created around that.
And of course, when they're not, yeah, you're
Exactly.
right. Yeah.
Right. So if people don't know, I generally, I don't know. Sometimes I switch back and forth on this in terms of how cynical I am about people. Maybe it is a matter of people coming in and just going fuck the other guy and whatever.
Yeah.
But I really think it's that, because even if you're looking at a car that's plugged in, you don't know if it's. How can you tell if it's full?
You can't.
Right? Like there's not a gauge on the outside where you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So maybe the assumption is, okay, well, this has been plugged in for, because we're all so self-involved, right? Like we don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder. I mean, I'd love to. I've never driven an electric car. I wonder what it would be like. Apparently, again, the technology's gotten to a point where they've got quite a bit of torque and they go now, right? I don't think that's bad. But you're watching the death knell of an industry, basically, right? Much like with cigarettes, right? Like, and what's sprung up to replace cigarettes?
Vapes.
So what's going to spring up? You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I think it boils down to just people are still people no matter what, and in each situation they'll just behave the way they've always behaved.
Yeah.
You can't stop it.
And if I can quote Depeche Mode, people are people. Why should it be? You and I should get along so awfully. The guy rhymed, how could it be with awfully?
Yeah, well.
Come on. I mean, I love Depeche Mode,
somebody
but
had to do
dude,
it.
you're getting lazy. Buy a thesaurus.
And speaking of Depeche, which is the fish, let's take a look at some of Lou's highlights this past
No, let's
season.
not do that at all.
Let's do it.
All right.
This week we're talking about fake news. We're talking about tabloids, which in my mind are different, right? Generally, if you see a tabloid, if you see a National Enquirer headline, you're pretty clear that it's bullshit, Hello, everybody. This week we're talking about commonalities, things that people have in common, whether they be habits, whether they be patterns of thinking, whether they be shoes. Drunks. I'm old enough, folks, to remember when being drunk was actually socially accepted. So when Norm sent me the topics for this, and he's like, you got to make this funny. I was like, yeah, boy, nothing quite as funny as serial killers. And then anyway, then what we're going to do is we're going to take some giant-ass rockets, and we're going to time to your ass and launch you out of the atmosphere. And they went, yeah, I don't see any problem with this at all. Hi, folks. This week we're talking about foodies, people who love food, but more importantly, people who take pictures of the food before they're loving it, which I don't really get, because me being me, I like to eat. Hey everybody, this week we're talking about wedding proposals, overly elaborate wedding proposals, all of these big kind of to-dos that some people do. Everybody says something and then gets mad at somebody else for doing the thing they just did. Guglielmo Marconi, one of my people, actually invented the telephone before Bell. So fuck you, Bell. That's what I gotta say. Unless they're watching, in which case, if you want to sponsor the show, that would be awesome.
All right, well, thank you very much, Lou, for that wonderfully funny collection of things that you said that made us all laugh so hard.
Oh, my.
A funnier man I've yet to meet. That's our Lou Saracino. So, Sarajevo. I'm sorry.
Look, I just say something as well. Because I
Please-
gave that guy a
please
hard
say
time
something.
about having 4 names. And
Yeah.
I, in effect, now that I'm thinking about it, having 4 names as well.
What are your 4 names?
They're Luigi, Carmine, Gabriele, Giuseppe, Saracino. So 5 names.
5
as well.
names.
So Italians, by the way, don't know what a baby name book is. So, because if you yell Luigi in a room of my family, or Chris, or Bart,
Everybody answers?
everybody turns around.
Right.
Also, if you drive by a construction site and yell Tony, generally most of my family will turn around as well. Yeah, I'm very proud.
Same thing with the Sopranos.
Nice. None of those guys worked in construction. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like most of the times I know work in actual
Gotcha,
construction,
gotcha.
as opposed to I work in the sanitation services. Like if somebody says sanitation services to you, dude, check out.
I'm in the brick boot industry.
There you go.
Okay, so
The Irishman, by the way, quite
now, for our stupidness today, it's just going to be the 3 of us with our rants about shitty drivers. So let's not delay the hell that we're going to release on you.
Set loose.
Set loose.
Set loose the
Set
dogs
loose.
of war.
Here is Meltdown. Stupidness.
Yay.
That was good. Yeah, that was a very
Dramatic
dramatic.
pause,
I like
yeah.
that. I like the way the whole thing worked.
Okay, so you guys now, I was out today because I did my shopping today, so I went out to Barhaven, Costco, Loblaws, all that nonsense, and even in just the short span of an hour and a half, I ran into so many people that should not be behind the wheel of a car. And you guys drove here today, and I'm sure you experienced the same thing. What is your biggest gripe about drivers? The shit they do.
Huh.
Here we
Jeff,
go.
why don't you
How
go first?
about when you're doing the freaking speed limit and they're tailgating you? And you're actually doing the speed limit. Maybe you're even 2 or 3 kilometers over and like they just can't wait to pass you.
That's annoying.
Man.
Tailgate, yeah. How do you deal with that? Do you just slam on the
You know
brakes?
what?
I did
Late-
that once.
I definitely put my foot on the brake and I point at the speed limit sign like, you know, it's 60 kilometers an hour, you know. Or I drive in a lot of 4-lane roads so they can pass me all they want. It doesn't matter.
Here's what I'm upset about. I've apologized to Jeff 6 or 7 times. Because as he was saying that, I literally was. I'm the guy behind.
You were
it.
driving right up fast.
That's right, you were.
Yeah,
Well,
for
I was
sure.
doing this to you.
That's right, for
I was
sure.
giving you the finger in more ways than one.
To sort of add to your point, but not to say that this is the same thing.
Yeah.
But people who drive under the speed
that's-
limit in the passing lane.
Yeah.
That is the issue, though.
But it's under the limit though. If you're going up above the limit,
Yeah.
then okay, have whatever. If you're going the limit or above, have some respect, stay away. But if you're not gonna drive at least the speed limit, get the fuck out of the passing lane
See,
and go into the right lane. But
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is in the driver's handbook, people.
This is an interesting topic for me because I was one of those who tend to get very frustrated and would assume this sort of cop of the world persona, right?
Okay,
Where
yeah.
there's a sense of almost moral injustice, right? Because the first inclination when that happens is you take it personally. Not just me, but everybody.
Of course.
And I've been that other person, right?
Yeah.
Like I've not thought about it. How many times have you driven to work and been like, how the hell did I get
Oh,
there?
100%,
Right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
again, like even when you're trying to give somebody the assumption, because I read this thing that said that they had a study that basically showed that people who drove more expensive cars or higher end cars tend to take more liberties.
Okay.
Because there is
I agree with that.
an assumption of entitlement maybe or whatever the case might be.
Okay.
We could probably trade stories in terms of horrible drivers all fucking day.
Yeah.
And as you said, even on the way here. By the way, folks, if you're going to make a turn and it's a left turn and you're in the left lane, as Jeff mentioned, first of all, do the limit. Second of all, don't hit the turn signal when you're in the fucking turn.
Yeah, it's a bit late then.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
I don't-
people, that's a big thing. with
That's the
ours,
biggest
that
thing for me.
people, they either misuse them or don't use them.
Well, you know what it is they don't. I think most people are not clear, and I think this is an instructional thing. On the idea that the whole point of the turn signal is that to give the person behind you fair warning in
What
terms
you're
of
doing.
what you're going to be doing.
Exactly, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I've driven all over the country. I've driven in different countries. I remember being in Italy and being in Rome and sitting on a sidewalk having a smoke, and a guy drove a car up onto the sidewalk, got out, boop boop, and then walked away. That's what killed me, was the boop boop and it's ciao, and then he just went on his business. And I was like, so I get that there are different mores for different places,
Yeah.
but I think part of it is that we get lazy. Part of it is that we're unclear on the rules of the road, right? Like, I can't imagine being a cop. You know, a month ago I had a guy step out of his car to me. So we were intersection. This house like that. So this guy's coming this way. I'm going this way.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm turning right. I have the right of way.
Right.
He cuts me off. So I was like, "Are you kidding me with this?" So then I got. Now, granted, in fairness, I probably got a little too animated about it. Right? I am Italian after all. A lot of this, you know. And the guy actually got out of his thing and started videotaping my car. And I was like, so I leaned out and I went, "Who has a right of way when you're turning right?" And he was like, "Malay," or whatever, you know, like it was some dude, some French guy or whatever, was super pissed off. And then started swearing at me in French, and I responded in French, which one he was like, "Ha ha, oh, zut alors," or whatever.
Oh, you got me.
Foiled again. All right? So, I guess what I'm saying is that people are always, when something happens, no one ever goes, "Oh yeah, I fucked it."
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
Jeff, scooch over this way a little bit.
Oh,
more.
okay.
I
Am I
want
leaning
you-
over?
Yeah,
because
girl.
I want to,
want you
like,
frame it.
because it's a weird topic to me, because it is easy to feel justified in action.
Well, yeah.
You know, we've all heard stories where, like, you know, these road rage incidents where, like, I was at the SO at the Bank of Heron today. I am backing into the gas pump. A guy squeezes between me and another car to get to the car wash. Not to get first in line, to be seventh. So I'm like, you almost took out my car so you could be seventh in line at the, like, it's not shutting down after the sixth car, dude. Relax.
Oh boy.
Right? So
Impatience. Impatience.
it's
is
impatience,
a big
it's
thing.
a lack
big
of
thing.
learning, it's a lack of, you know, being aware of your surroundings, like,
But I don't know. I'm seeing just not knowing the basic rules, not knowing how to merge, not knowing which lane to be in, not knowing when to signal. It's getting worse and worse. It's almost like we're just giving licenses to anybody now.
hold on, so you're saying
I think it's getting worse. It's always been bad.
that there's
but
an
it's-
industry built around driving that wants to make money. Like, of course, dude, right? Like,
What are you talking
well,
about?
the fact that you can get a discount on your insurance if you take a driver's course.
No, I'm not talking about insurance. I'm talking about licenses.
No, but that's what I'm saying. You're saying that they're giving a license to everybody, but in fact, it's harder to get a license now than it was when we were kids.
Okay.
There's 2 levels now, right?
Really? Is it? No. I get it. It's more complicated and you have to wait longer.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is we're putting people on the road that don't fucking know how to drive.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm saying it's ironic because we have a system in place now that is
Right.
supposed to prevent that very
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
Right? So what's missing then? Where's
I'll tell you what it is. Me personally, I think people study, they learn the answers that the ministry wants in order for you to get your test. Once you got your license, you just throw it all out the window and say, fuck it. If I want to drive in the left lane, I'm turning left in an hour anyway, so I want to be in the left lane. And I'm cautious, so I'm going to do 50 in an 80 zone. But I'm going to stay in the left lane because
Yeah.
I got to turn in an hour.
Yeah.
Like, fuck the hell off. Getting over, in fact, here's the thing. You know what, most of you, and you know who you are, God damn it, I'm telling you, take your license and shred it. Hand it over to someone else. You know, just say, you know what, must have been a mistake. I really shouldn't have gotten this. And throw it out, burn it. Don't ever drive again. Don't sit behind the wheel. Take an Uber everywhere, or Lyft if you would rather. And then just leave it so that the people who like to drive, who know how to drive, can be on the road. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think I have that same grievance, right? Like, the whole point of the slow lane is that's where you sit until you have to go if you're turning to your left, right?
It's not even a slow lane. It's just the non-passing lane. It's the lane you're supposed to be in when you're
Okay,
going from A
so
to
I'll tell you a
B.
story. When I was working for a government department last year, there was a woman who had driven in a snowstorm. And I said, "Wow, how are the roads?" She said, "Not bad. I drove down the middle of the highway." And I said, I want to make sure I'm clear on this. Jesus. You drove down the middle of the highway. And by the way, at a good 30 or 40 clicks under, like she said, there were a bunch of cars behind her. So her need to feel safe outweighs anything else. And if her need to feel safe is not necessarily based on logic, how are you going to address...
Oh, don't bring Howard into this.
Well, no, we'll talk about Howard in a second.
Worst driver ever.
You know what I mean?
Howard.
So, like, I understand... Like, it would be easy for this to devolve into you know what I'm saying, right? So, like, to me, what's interesting about it is the behavior, the actual behavior contributing to those actions. Because that's what you have to address to try to figure out what the problem is. I'll give you another example. My godson, who was 16, William Marcus, Connor Marcus' brother, super cool.
Shout out,
what's up? So sight. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing.
Van Buren?
Yeah, Van Buren. Mountain Equipment Co-op. That's not, how would you even, too many letters, that's my point. Here's the thing, when I talk to him about driving, he has, his brother Connor, his older brother, has little to no interest in driving at all.
Okay.
When I was 15, and I failed the first time I went for my license.
Okay.
So, yeah, don't go drunk. That's very... Again, I was born in like 1901, so you could do that, right? Back in the day. So, my point is that they have no interest. But when I was that age, I could not... I don't know if you were like this. I couldn't wait to get a license.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So I could fuck off out of the house and go and do whatever. Like, it's
The
a
freedom,
sense of
the
freedom.
Absolutely.
Like, there's nothing like driving your car on a sunny day with the roof down or the roof open and the music playing. Like, that's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah. I
So-
used to drive just for pleasure.
Yeah. So
All the
I don't want to take that away from people, but it's become much more utilitarian, right? Cars have become ubiquitous to a certain degree, right? Because now they're more plentiful than ever. They're generally cheaper than they've been.
Yeah.
They're built better for the most part,
And people are using them from A to B, and that's
that's it.
basically
And that's even like driving is down, right? The stats are down in terms of people who now drive.
Are they really?
Absolutely. Because, well, and you're going to see a shift. Because what's happened with Ottawa is there was a period of about 15 years where they pushed everybody out to the suburbs. And then they went, oh, we have no way for you to get around. Oh, should have probably thought about that at the council meeting.
Yeah.
And then now you're starting to see people start to repopulate the inner city.
Right.
And downtown particularly. There's a reason there's a 45-story building going up to Carling and Preston. Right? Because to get to work downtown from there is a 10-minute bus.
That's right. You're right.
So there is definitely that shift. And yet in this city, in Ottawa, we've seen congestion like we've never seen ever before.
Yeah.
And that's because the population has grown to a degree where the infrastructure that's existing can't support it. Right? So then if you add all of that to the fact that most people really are not that aware of the rules of the road.
I know, but Lou,
And I'm not forgiving any of that behavior, right?
no,
I'm just saying.
Because the basics. If people would just remember the basics, right?
I agree.
Remember them and use them, you know, as a signal. If you look at the phrase turn signal. Well, it's a collection of words. I don't know if it's a phrase. But the descriptor turn signal, it's a signal. You don't signal someone after you've done something. That's just fucking stupid. A signal is something that you're showing to someone before you do something. Like, for example, listen. I want to stab
keep
Lou in the
ranting.
head with a screwdriver. Here's my signal. I'm going to raise the screwdriver. Lou now knows I'm going to stab him in the face. Have you ever seen someone in a situation like on the Queensway, for example, that comes up on an on-ramp and sits there because they're terrified to merge? You should not have a license.
That's the problem.
But
the problem is not that they're dumb.
How
though.
did they get a license in the first place? If you are
Because
afraid to drive,
Do you not remember the
do
first time
not
you went on a
drive.
highway, dude? Were you not nervous the first time you went on a highway?
It doesn't fucking matter. You
why
have to
does it
learn
matter,
that.
though?
You have to learn
I
that to
understand.
get your license.
But if you know you have to learn that, and you know that you were nervous the first time, why you have to allow that person the same thing, don't you?
no, because if you did that to get your license, keep doing it.
This is the eyes he's giving you right
No,
now.
if it's fucking merge. If you
Like, if you guys can't see his eyes,
if you're afraid to merge, if you're afraid to be in the middle
how
of
are
an
they gonna
intersection
learn
to turn
if
left.
you're not allowing them to learn?
No, you learn before you get your fucking license.
How? Where's there a highway sitting around in the
They
backyard?
take you on the fucking highway.
But that's what I'm saying.
Jesus Christ, Lou, they take you on the highway and then decide whether or not you're good enough to get a license. If you can't merge, they will not give you a license.
Well, clearly that person got their license.
this is what I'm saying.
People should evolve. People should be learning as
yes,
they
but
drive.
there's
But you're right. You're right. It is a mystery if they're making mistakes. Did they just say, you know what? I know it's right.
Sorry,
The waves of anger coming off of Norm right now.
I am so.
I know what you mean. It's like, okay, I'm not going to make any mistakes because I have to get my license, but after that, I'm going to continue to make mistakes. I see what you're saying. You're right. Because theoretically, you have to be perfect to get your license, right? To actually get it for the instructor to say.
Sure, but it is a sliding scale, right?
Yeah.
Like it's based on a percentage. If you get that
That is
percentage, you
the
pass.
dumbest fucking logic I've ever heard.
I'm not saying it's logic at all.
Listen to this.
What I'm saying,
I'm going to go to medical school to be a doctor. Okay,
you can't equate those two, dude.
Oh yes, you can.
No,
I
you
am
cannot.
I have to learn a bunch of stuff.
Those are not the same thing.
Listen, I have to learn how to operate on someone and not kill them.
Again.
Then they issue me my license, and I'm going to go. Okay, well now I can forget everything I learned.
First of all,
oops, sorry.
it is a logical fallacy to compare those two because they're not the same thing. My only point is this. Wait, I'll let you yell in my ear. Let me yell in yours now. You son of a bitch. We love each other. We do.
Oh, yeah, every day.
Shut up. So my point is this: I am not disagreeing with anything you're saying. What I'm he swallowed a horn. I don't know if you guys. It's Harpo Briquetta, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Oh my god, that was genius. The same thing at the same time. That's clear.
Right.
See, because Harpo had a.
Continue yelling, Lou. I'm sorry I interrupted your.
My point is this:
Yes.
I understand that you are heated about this, and to a certain degree, I appreciate where you're coming from. But if I put myself in that position, if I look back at some of the stupid ass shit I did while I was learning to drive, as Jeff said, right? So whether we like it or not, the way they grade driving is a percentage, right? So it's 12 things that you're graded on. If you get 10, you pass. So what if the 11th or 12th one is like doesn't not great on the highway? Okay, so I'm not saying. Like, what's the alternative, Norm? That's
Okay.
so that's my question.
Did
Play
you
devil's
take
advocate.
driver's education?
I did.
Before you got your license.
I did.
Did you take driver's ed?
Yes.
Okay, I took driver's ed.
Yeah, I did.
That, my friends, is where you learn. Okay?
I agree.
You learn, you practice.
I feel like we're arguing
you
over
repeat-
something
No,
that's not an
no,
argument.
I'm just saying. There really is no reason why, if you pass the course, which you have to do now to get a license, and then you get your license, one has to assume that you know the rules of the road and that you've been practicing them and that you have been evolving and you're now ready to go out on your own and drive the way you were taught.
You would hope.
Why people suddenly forget everything they learn or pull stupid moves, are afraid to do stuff. Like, honestly, my mother, God rest her soul, never once had her license, never was total opposite of me. Was not interested in driving at all. So I can't even say she was a shitty driver. She probably would have been, just knowing my mom.
Oh, I thought you were building up to it.
I'm 56. I forgot where I was going.
Which explains why you're so bad at driving. Here's my
Oh,
point.
I'm not bad at driving.
Easy.
How many accidents have you caused?
Have I caused?
Yeah,
How would I answer that question?
because you either hit someone or hit.
Well, it's not like I
something.
stuck around.
I don't
Okay,
think
so
I've
that not counting the hit and runs.
No, I haven't. I don't. To
Have
my
you ever-
knowledge, I've never
have you
caused
been
an
hit
accident.
before?
I've been hit a couple
Okay,
of
have
times.
you been hit?
I almost got hit last week. I was like,
Oh, fuck,
like
really?
so close that we had to get out of our respective cars to see if there wasn't any damage.
Holy shit! What happened?
I was turning right, and this car was pulling a U-turn. This driver was pulling a U-turn, and I could see he is not going to stop. He does not see me driving down the road, and I know I wasn't going fast because I went around the corner. So if I was going 100 kilometers an hour on the corner, my car would have tipped over. So I know he was going slow. And I'm driving, and I'm realize this guy is not stopping. So I veer to the left. I was lucky there weren't any other cars parked there. I'm lucky that there wasn't pedestrians. And I was still, as I'm going to the left, of course, this all happens in a split second.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it feels like it's longer. And I said, we're gonna hit, even though I'm veering left. And we stopped. Immediately, I got out of the car to see if there was damage. And this young guy, and it's not just young drivers, there are old drivers that are bad as well, but this young guy came out, and he's kind of laughed, and a nervous laugh. He wasn't taking this lightly, I could tell. He said, oh, I looked in my rearview mirror, and I remained calm, and I said, you have got to shoulder check as well. And I was going to say, if you looked in your rearview mirror, how long was it before you looked? That's the thing. But I made the point, if you have to show, and I said it calmly, and I said, you have to shoulder check as well.
Yeah.
And I looked, and I said, I don't think there's any damage in your car, and I said, "Have a good day," and I climbed back in the car and I kept my cool until I went around the corner and just started screaming.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, because it's
Good for you,
first of all,
I
it's
guess.
scary, and the notion that you came
Yeah.
that close to getting hit is
Yeah.
what's propelling you at that
yeah.
point.
And it would have been minor damage had we actually hit, but that's not the point, of course.
But what I'm also saying is that there's so many instances of things escalating.
yeah.
You know, like for example, I'm driving through not the Glebe, up Sunnyside.
Okay.
And if you've ever driven up Sunnyside coming from the university,
Yeah.
there's a series of stops.
Yes.
And
yeah.
at the third one, admittedly, I did not make a full stop.
Okay.
So there was a guy pulling out of his driveway, and because I didn't make a full stop, I came close to him, right? And then of course I was justified, even though I was wrong. I was justified in flipping the guy off and whatever. And we pull over, the guy gets out, he's got his kid in the car. And then once I get out of the car, I'm like, in my hand, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm a fucking grown man. So I go, you know what? I'm sorry, I fucked up. And he goes, oh, what are you gonna cry? And I was like, okay, well if you want to be a dickbag, that's completely up to you.
Yeah.
I did the right thing.
Yeah.
So my point is that in a situation where I was very fucking clearly wrong, because he was saying to me, you ran the stop. And I was
Yeah.
like, no, I'm fucking wrong, just blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I fucked up. I'm not saying I'm better than most people for finding myself in that moment, but most people,
Yeah.
in the heat of the moment, would be like, you know what I mean? It's hard to check back and go, okay, you know what, man, I'm sorry I fucked up.
It is.
Because your pride's involved, right? You don't want... Because it's always this battle when you meet somebody else, right? Like, who's going to come out on top?
Oh yeah.
Who's
You
the alpha
come out
dog?
expecting the worst.
Right? And it's like, okay, fuck that.
I remember once I was driving up River Road. Did you guys ever drive up River?
Yeah.
I try to avoid it now because
Right.
of the tailgating.
I
Yeah.
drove down to the river once
In a van.
with Springsteen.
So I'm coming up from Riverside Drive. I'm kind of turning right on River Road as opposed to going straight on Line Bank. I was for whatever reason, and I'm driving up River Road, and there's that hidden. It's Leitrim, you know. Leitrim is
Yep.
like
Yeah.
sitting there, and I'm coming up. There's nobody behind me, but I guess there was cars coming the other direction, and there was this moving van. And I swear to God, I'm driving. You know, in my mind, I'm like, there's no way this guy's going to pull out now. And of course, just as I'm coming up to the intersection, he decides there's nothing coming that way. He's going to pull out. I slam on my brakes.
Wow.
And I
I wanna
was
talk about that.
fucking livid. Now, we finally get up to around the independent grocer. I get in the left lane. He's in the right lane. And I'm coming up to him. I'm
Older
miffed.
guy, younger guy?
Oh, well, younger than me, I think.
Okay.
But he rolls his window down, and I think he's gonna
Apologize.
Well, I wasn't sure what he was gonna do, but then he just goes, I'm sorry, man. I'm really sorry.
See, that's
I'm really
fantastic.
sorry. And suddenly, it all just went away. It's like, okay,
Exactly.
thank you.
Because
Like,
what you want in
you
that
owned
moment...
what you did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's happened is that they've scared you, or this situation has scared... And I don't mean you, I
They
mean
almost
everybody.
caused a fucking accident.
Same,
is what-
right?
Yeah.
So the thing to keep in mind is that what you're responding to is that adrenaline of like, fuck, you almost killed me.
Yeah.
Because what's going through people's heads are, if I die because I did something stupid, okay. If I die because somebody else did something stupid, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
So that's what that's about. So the fact that this guy could own it, as you said, completely took the piss out of the situation, right?
It totally did.
Totally
It
deflated the whole
completely
thing.
diffused everything. Yeah.
But I will say this, and I've noticed this more than I ever have. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're backing out of a driveway or a laneway or a parking spot or whatever the case might be, and you see a car coming, would you do me a favor and not wait till the very last fucking minute?
yes.
I don't understand why people will sit there for 35 seconds, and I'm like, you could have pulled out 9 times.
Yeah.
And who hasn't said that? I'm so sorry. I'm so
My
sorry.
wife says it all the time.
Yeah.
What the hell are you still doing in here?
Who do you think told me?
Get out.
My point is that I think, again, that's an instructional thing. People are partly scared, partly they can't gauge distance. The fact that, here's another thing I want to say, and then I'm going to try to stop ranting. Driving is not a passive action. When you are driving, you continually need to make a loop between what you're seeing in front of you, your rear view, your side view, and your other side view.
Yeah.
You should be doing that circle the whole fucking
Right.
time.
Always know what's happening around.
And
you.
I don't think
Right.
that's something that people know.
No, you're absolutely. I
Right?
agree. I agree.
And now you've got mirrors where you don't even have to crank the mirror all the way out to be able to see on your far side. They got the little mirror inside the.
Yeah.
You've got no excuse not to make it.
now every car does have a blind spot. There's no question
sure.
about it. Which is why, like Jeff said, you've got to shoulder check. You know, like if
That's
I've
fucking scary, Jeff. I'm glad you're
just
okay.
passed someone, I will admit, if I've just passed someone on my right, I've just passed them, There's no one in front of them. I see them now in my rear view. I know there's nothing.
exactly what I do.
There's
It's exactly
nothing,
what I do.
So I can
Which is
switch.
wrong, by the way.
It is wrong because there could be someone that was behind you that you didn't see that's
Exactly.
also turning right.
Exactly.
So I'm cautious of that. I'm aware of it. And when I don't shoulder check, I remind myself, oh, stupid, you forgot to do that. And I'm trying to continuously do that. I want to say, just I'm surprised at how fair and equitable you are being to drivers.
Well, you know what?
I expected today's show was going to be a complete, a salvo launched against all of these moron drivers, but you actually have taken a position
Well, you
where,
know what?
yeah, to be fair, which I admire and hate at the same time.
I get that because
You know what I mean?
I've certainly, and maybe it's just the day, right? Like if you talk to me about this tomorrow, maybe I'll be more animated about it.
Maybe.
But I think what it is that I'm trying overall, in terms of a transformative point of view for myself, because I know I have a propensity to sometimes focus on things that are negative or be cynical or whatever else.
Yeah.
I'm trying as much as I can, especially because we're so close to the end of the year,
Yeah.
to do something different. Now, I'm not saying that I'm always able to apply that level of empathy, but when I sit and think about it, what I'm really trying to do, whether it's this or anything else, is to go, okay, if I was that person, how would I feel right now?
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that most people are not out to fuck anybody, right?
No,
most,
you're right, you're
not
right.
all.
Yeah.
And I can,
But
and we'll,
most.
and we'll scroll a list under this when it's,
But most.
and then we'll talk. But
Yeah.
my point is, so I'm trying really hard to put myself in that place. That being said, driving out here, I got pretty pissed off with somebody for exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? So, in a bid to not be angry all the time, I'm trying to be more forgiving generally, which is, no guff, really fucking hard. Really, really fucking
Oh, I
hard.
know.
And I think conversations like this enable it being a little bit easier, because once you talk about it, you're like, okay, now, as I said, maybe on the way home. Like, my sister's been here for a week. In the last 3 days, we've almost been hit 3 times. In the last 3 days. Right? Now, I already have issues with anxiety. That's not something that's fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I got my mom and my sister in the car. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus, Murphy.
Yeah.
So, I have to remind myself that what I'm reacting to is because I got scared. And when you get scared, it's the fight or flight thing, right? Like, you fucking put your arms up. And so just the fact that this guy turned it, like, I am so impressed by that. I don't even know who this dude is, but that is,
Yeah.
I wish that's how everybody would take it.
So do I.
You know?
So do I. Yeah.
So, I've seen all kinds of shit. I mean, I appreciate you saying it, and I knew coming into this that this could have easily have been 3 of us like, fuck.
Well, I was hoping that's what it would be.
Well, I think we touched on both, right? Like,
I think
that there
so.
was-
I think so.
You know what I mean?
I'm actually shocked that Jeff wasn't the voice of reason, as he usually is the voice of reason, right? When I go off on these weird tangents, Jeff is always there to,
But I mean, I think,
Hold
I
me
mean,
back
in
in, but-
fairness, Jeff is I mean, I've always known you as being very equal-minded, right? Like, you're a guy who is very measured in terms of, you generally think about what you say before, which is one of the reasons I like you, because most people don't fucking do that. Truthfully, right? Like, you generally give thought to what you're going to say, and you're very well spoken that way, right? Like, you want to measure what you're saying. So I've always appreciated that. You know, and again, I anticipated that there'd have a couple of stories where it's like fuck and whatever, right? But like I've seen some dumbass shit.
Oh,
doing.
I'm
Trust
sure.
me,
I'm
I've seen
sure.
some dumbass shit.
I think it's how I personally channel things, and I think it's where I'm at right now. Like, in a way, I wish I could never drive again. And I'm like you, Norm. I used to love driving. That was fun to do.
You don't
It's
anymore?
fun. It depends. If I'm maybe somewhere where I know it's like a country road and it's
Yeah.
relatively safe, and it's. But driving in general, no. I wish I was in a situation where I could drive less. I actually tend to now. If I know I don't have to go to work or have any other responsibilities, I will do all my
You
errands.
drive downtown from here to go to work.
Well, I drive from Barhaven to Sunnyside. I work
Holy
at Sunnyside.
smokes, dude.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, which is bad enough. I mean, I love my job. This has nothing to do with my job.
Right,
I
right,
love my
right.
job. I love the Sunnyside branch. I'm talking about the drive.
That's
It's
not an easy
it's-
drive in the morning.
Well, no, actually, I work evenings, so I'm not in
Oh,
rush
okay.
hour traffic. That's
Oh,
the
even
one thing
better.
I
That's
generally avoid. The closest I come is I work every Friday from 1 to 6. So I actually have evenings. I have one afternoon, and I have every second Saturday
Yeah.
until in the afternoon. So Friday, I come home in the rush hour, but even then it's 6 o'clock, so it's not as bad. So I'm lucky to avoid the rush hour the way my hours are set up. But the drive anyways, like, I avoid River Road as much as I can.
I get that.
Because I'm tired of getting tailgating. What I find hilarious about River Road is, driving south, you have the flashing red light where
Yep.
it's still 80 kilometers an hour. And one reason I avoided, because I would slow down to 60 to make it green, and people would tailgate me, they would still be doing 80. So that's one reason I don't drive down River Road. But I find it hilarious when I see, now there's nothing funny about driving well over the speed limit, but it's a funny situation when you see the police, they're out there and they're handing out tickets, and you can tell it was a car that was driver that was driving south that must have had the flashing red light going 90, 90, 90, 90, and then the cops are sitting right there. It's like, well, you were warned. You know what I mean? What are they thinking? Like, well, yeah, there was that flashing 90 and I didn't do anything about it, and then the police are, I just find that hilarious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think in terms of actual speed,
yeah,
I think the most important thing I ever took away from driver's ed was always go with the flow of traffic.
Yeah, yeah, I think
because
that's important.
It is, like, and
which doesn't seem to happen anymore.
Well,
like, I don't understand why traffic, and you know, there are guys whose job it is to study this, right? But I don't get why traffic happens. I don't get why I'll be headed west on the highway, we get to Parkdale and everything fucking stops, and then when you get up to, you know, whatever, Maitland or whatever the case may be, clears up again.
Yeah.
It's like there was nothing in the road
it's all
stuff.
volume,
But
though.
what the fuck is
It's
the problem?
Volume that
But
you
if
can't even
everybody
see.
follows everybody else,
Yes.
that shouldn't
Goes
happen.
with the flow, which I
goes-
completely agree with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when I say speeding, I'm not, you're doing 62 in a 60 zone or 63, let's say, for example. Technically, that's speeding, but if that's the flow of the traffic, that's fine. I'm not talking about.
Well, and
I'm
admittedly-
not talking about.
It's
Technically,
usually 10 over.
yeah,
I'm
or
telling you.
10, or 10.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what?
well, you know, the flashing red sign, it'll be only orange, right? If you're, say, 8 or 9 or 10 over. So they're saying, okay, you know, this is kind of. So, yeah, exactly. That's I agree with what you're saying. So, when I talk about speeding, I'm talking about definite,
good.
like, where
Yeah.
you're getting demerit points. Because I think it's been a long, and I've had speeding tickets when I was younger in my 20s, but I think if you're, say you're doing 92, there's a point where you don't get demerits? Well,
15.
my
It's
point.
15.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
always
my
the window.
point being that if you're at least in a non-demerit situation, I mean, you know, that's sort of okay in the sense of you weren't going that fast. I'm talking about it's 60 and somebody's doing 100, that type of thing, or even 90 in a 60.
You know, I will say this.
But go with the flow. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I find it interesting, and the analogy to me is the same as internet browsers. And I'll get this. so much
Please,
sense.
I'm done to see how you bring this around.
So, internet browsers will come with plugins where you can download video, right? You can download movies, you can download songs, you can download whatever you want to download. You can go to the Chrome store today and get 20 different apps that do that very same thing. The other flip side of that is don't download videos, don't download music. You're not allowed to, you're supposed to pay for it. So on one hand, you're saying there are a bunch of laws that tell you to do this, and on the other hand, they're saying, here's a bunch of ways that you can do what we just told you not to do. What I mean by comparison, we have cars. When I got the car that I'm leasing now, we're taking a test drive, and we're on a deserted road. The guy goes, punch it. And we go 0 to 60 in, I don't know, 8 seconds or whatever. And he goes, right? And I'm like, and for a second I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then I go, when, aside from getting on the highway or escaping police, is that ever going to be handy? So we've built cars that do 220, 230, 240, right?
Yeah.
That are giant monsters that can give you speed and power, but we're going to put you on a road where you can't even do a third of what that car can do.
Okay, but here, where and then it's like driving a turbo as opposed to not driving a turbo. Where that comes in handy, having that speed is if you're in a precarious situation and you actually need to.
But what I'm saying is that the
accelerate to
message
get
we're
out of
sending is contradictory, because
Well,
on one hand we're saying, you know, like buy this, and I mean, let's face it, right? Car ads, any ads of any kind, are all about selling to someone's insecurity, right? That's what it is. So it's just weird to me, as I said, that there are all these laws preventing you from driving fast, but we're selling you cars that do nothing but drive fast. Yeah.
No,
That's
okay,
strange.
I'll agree with that.
That's all I'm
I'll agree
saying.
with that. All right.
Like if you buy it for, like I was at the TD place and some kid got out of a friggin' Lamborghini Countach, or is that what they're called?
Countach.
Countach? Bless you.
You're welcome.
You ever had like some of that? Is that the, like succotash, but Countach? All right. So my point is that, first of all, I'm looking at this car and I'm like, this car tops out at 310,
Yeah.
right? You're driving it in...
Probably has a limiter on it if it's in Canada.
Oh, I'm sure. But it's this high off the ground, and it's like, you know, so cars, what I'm trying to say, are not necessarily modes of transportation. And while I argued that they become more ubiquitous, there's still the other high-end side of that.
Yeah.
Right? Well, like, have you seen as many Maseratis in the city than ever? Like, I feel like Joe Walsh is tailing me.
It's
Joe Walsh is
possible.
tailing me. Joe Walsh is...
I get it. I'm just not reacting to it.
My Maserati does 185, he's saying. that song.
So, I think we can all agree that.
Joe Walsh is a genius.
Well, yes, we can agree that Joe Walsh is a genius.
More 3D action.
Yeah, you know what? That's the next step of this show. The next
3D?
evolution is a 3D.
We can't afford real 3D, so it's just going to be us doing this.
Yeah, pretty much.
3D House of Tongue. Remember
Is there-
John Candy,
I do-
R.I.P.?
I do. Do we have any closing statements we want to make? Because
Well, there's actually still a lot we haven't covered. People who run yellow lights when they definitely have time to stop. You're trying to turn left, and you know that person has time at the yellow light, time to stop. Actually,
Yeah, that's something people do a lot.
Yeah,
I've done that.
I notice a lot of people, because waiting at red lights is really boring, so a lot of people take the time to check their phone. Okay, I'm being sarcastic. You should not check your phone.
Yes,
at a red
it's
light.
illegal, actually.
Yes, it is illegal.
Even
so,
at a
Well, that's the whole point of having the Bluetooth in your car, so you don't have to check your
Well,
phone.
Oh, it's-
Exactly.
Yeah, but they.
Exactly, and I look over at people that are. I mean, I'm watching everything, but I also look over at these drivers that are on their phones. But they don't notice me looking at them because they're too busy looking at their phones. But then I go back to looking around me to get the entire intersection, get the whole picture. I look back, they're still on their phones. I'm like,
I do something like that, but different. I drive with no pants on, so that when I pull up to somebody and I'm like just smiling, and they're looking at me, and I'm like, I have no pants.
That's a great visual.
well, you know what? If that was the worst problem, no pants at intersection,
Yeah.
we'd be okay.
That's
Right?
true.
Don't you
That's
think?
true. Yeah,
Don't you
unless you
think?
paid more attention to what was there.
I'm
Instead of
religious,
leave the
you know,
phone, instead of
you know.
leave the phone
And my
alone, we
wear
don't
no
leave the
pants
on.
party has approved this ad.
Yeah. And again, my closing comments, if that's where we're at right now, is that I cannot reiterate this enough. If you are afraid to drive, if getting in a car gives you anxiety, but only that. I'm not saying that you're an anxious person, but if that really, really bothers you, if you're afraid to merge, you're afraid to pull out into an intersection to make a left turn when the light turns yellow, you're afraid to be behind the wheel, you're afraid to change lanes, please destroy your license and never ever drive again, okay? There's Uber, there's Lyft, there's fucking public transportation, there's the goddamn O
I don't
train,
use Lyft just
there's
on principle.
LRT, which is late rail transit. Wherever you live, please stay off the roads to make life easier and more bearable for those of us who are not afraid to drive on today's roads.
All right. So my closing comments are: we got to work really hard in the corners. I think we're a good team if we give 110%.
Shoot the puck in the net. Shoot the puck.
I love how it's always the same three things.
Always the same
Got to work
thing.
really hard in the corners, and good team, good bunch of guys,
Yeah,
and
shoot the puck.
got
Shoot the
to
puck.
work hard there.
Yeah.
Get
Shoot the puck in there. Shoot the puck in there. I gotta score.
approach it like a team, and no Yahoo, no Joe Ride in there, And I think we're gonna have a good season.
Jeff?
By the way, if you haven't watched Letterkenny, total aside, it's fantastic and you should watch it. And my buddy Dom is on it. It's awesome.
Dom.
Hey Dom, how you doing?
Hey, what up?
Dom's great.
Yeah.
He's in
Yeah,
Montreal
he's
Italian,
in
dude. He
Mon-
doesn't fuck around.
No, he does not.
We're Ottawa Italians. We're like,
Yeah, we're
that's
like-
it. He's like, there's no talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a fucking
You know
stuffed
you're
pig
taking
head in
Jeff's moment away.
I'm into it all. I'm sorry.
I can't remember what I was going to say now.
Okay, well then we'll just move
No,
on.
give him a second to remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were supposed to do something about not on today's show, but inane sports interviews. Maybe there's a topic for next season.
That's pretty funny.
Inane sports
Yeah, I don't
interviews.
even know why. I think because I'm just flipping channels. But yesterday somebody asked a hockey player, you scored a goal, you've been injured, you scored a goal. What does that do for your confidence? Well, it helps it. You know what I mean? I wish an athlete would
It
answer.
reminded me when my
it
dad
helps
used
it.
to
What
beat
do
the crap out of me.
Yeah,
What answer are you expecting here?
I know. And of course he just said,
Oh,
yeah,
hilarious.
no, it helps my confidence. It's like, well, obviously it does. I guess my point is why bother?
You know what that is?
What the fuck does this have to do about driving?
He was
This
just
is
saying-
supposed to be last
Oh,
comments
but I would
about
like to speak
driving.
to that.
Because
for
Lou
one
was
second.
doing the sports
Hold on.
cliches thing. That's why.
Yeah,
Yes.
but that's because he screwed you up.
Okay.
And Jeff, it's not your fault. I want you to know it's Lou's fault.
I would like to speak to this for one brief moment. It's interesting to me. Like, every time they interview sports stars, football, whatever it is, they're generally those kinds of interviews.
Yeah.
And what I think that is the same reason we shouldn't let scientists name stars. You see what I mean? Like, why NASA doesn't have a poet on staff, I don't get. Because they go, we've just discovered a black hole. It's never been seen before. What's it called? NG471L.
Well, it could have that
Woo,
serial
you'll faint.
number, but it should also be called Bruce or something.
You know what I mean?
Bruce?
Like
I
instead
would
of
never name a star Bruce.
You're right. How about now I'm drawing a blank here. How about I don't know, what would be a good name for a star, Norm? How about
don't-
Alphonse?
Alphonse.
Affextrous.
You know what's weird? While we're talking about stars, the Death Star, to me, as much as I love Star Wars, seems a little on the nose. You know what I mean? Well, what does it do? Kills things. But what should we call it? Well, it's about as big as a star. It's coming to me. Hold on. Star Deather. No, that's not it. See, there's a reason. Is my point. So when NASA finds something, get the guy with the quill to come in, and then the pirate shirt, and be like, "I shall write an O."
So off track.
And that's poet laureate.
How is it?
You'll
so
see like a
off
big
track.
well,
You know,
starlight shining in the dark.
maybe the next time the three of us are together,
Yeah.
we should focus on some really crazy shit.
Here's the
like
problem with
that.
focus.
Well, okay. Maybe we should start out doing this,
Yes.
and then who knows where we'll end up.
I will
right?
tell you, and this might not come as a shock, but I was one of those kids that maybe had a little trouble focusing.
Okay,
As a
sure,
kid?
yeah, I believe it.
What is that? So,
Nice one, Lou.
here's what I think
Good
we should
setup.
do. We should have a show at the end of the thing where...
At the end of the thing,
yeah,
with the
well, we have a hat,
thing.
and we put many topics in it, and then instead of picking...
Oh, you know what? That's not a bad
If
idea.
you-
Why don't we do that? Why don't we write down some topics and stick them in a hat? Well, no, that's what you're saying. The fuck, I'm giving you the prompts here, you dimwit. Anyway, topics in a hat.
Dimwit is one of the
Listen.
greatest insults ever.
So my idea for next
Dimwit.
time is we'll put a bunch of topics in a hat, and we'll choose from them, and
Also-
then we'll be able to just kind of.
And I know this is off topic, but somehow the hat reminded me of the tickle trunk, and that reminded me of Mr. Dress Up. And by the way, the tickle trunk, dude, you're a week away from buying a white van. So, that dog was fucking mute, and that,
Casey?
no one is bothered by.
Casey?
They'd be like, Casey, what do you think?
Oh, it was Casey the boy. Finnegan.
Finnegan was a dog.
Finnegan.
Okay, Finnegan.
They used to
was
call
the
him
dog.
Vinegar. or whatever.
Like Jeremy Haas
Yeah,
does
yeah.
this brilliant bit on it, and I was thinking about it today, and I'm just like, that's actually pretty creepy. Like Canadian shows were weird.
Yeah.
Remember Danger Bay?
Oh, God,
Danger.
yeah. I know. Who would move there?
Danger Bay.
Yeah,
I want to be
that's-
the realtor for Danger Bay.
I
just to hear a client go, you know what? I like the bay. I like the danger. It might be a bit much. Have you got like, might get a paper cut coat.
Well, I could show you some properties on Rape Island. Again, I
You know,
have an
honey,
issue.
don't judge yet. Let's hear them out. These shows always devolve into us talking about a bunch of different.
Well, and that's what happens.
that's
what
the joy.
happens.
I would
Oh,
like to
my
take this moment, if I may,
Yes.
to thank you both, because it's always so much fun to hang out with you guys and to talk about all this stuff, and for having me be a part of the show, and to wish all of our folks very happy holiday and best
Yes,
in the new year.
well, because we are filming this actually in between Christmas and,
and the
New
sooner
Year's,
2019 fucking dies.
the better.
I'm sorry to be so peshy about that, but
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah,
It's
2020. It's interesting to think of
Yeah.
2020.
Where's my rocket belt?
Yeah, yeah.
You remember how in the movies in the past they'd go, let's set it in the future. 1987.
Yeah. Well,
I was like, so 2 years after I graduated high school? Oh,
Space 1999. I mean, that happened
oh
20 years ago.
that's true.
That's true. Special effects have gotten better, thankfully.
Yeah.
2010, year we made contact.
It's true.
Wow.
Totally forgot about that.
You don't know that.
Well, yeah, that's
What don't
true.
you know?
We don't know. I mean, perhaps we have made contact. You're right. We
You
have
think
talked-
they're gonna tell you?
Dude, I think if there's
not
alien
gonna
life,
tell you.
first of all, I mean, we could argue about this
Don't
forever.
start. If there was alien life, don't even go there.
There
Seriously, you think in this?
No, that's not what I'm
the
saying.
speck of
That's not what
a
I'm saying.
fucking universe we live in.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
What I am saying
Yes.
is that certainly based on what
Certainly.
what prevents us from having these contacts
Yeah.
are two things. One, the timeline involved,
Mm-hmm.
and the distancing. So, it's been said by people much smarter than me that the issue is that you have to hope that a society has grown in tandem with ours. Right? Because if it died 10,000 years ago, then it doesn't really fucking matter. Or if it happens 10,000 years from now.
Yeah.
And if you're 500 million light years away, right? Like, how would you it's not to suppose that there aren't technologies that they've, other beings, let's say, have discovered or whatever. But I find it interesting. Have you guys seen that tape from the Air Force pilot released in 2010?
No.
It's an Air Force console video, and fuck Jeff, it could not look more like a UFO.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, and you hear him like, okay, it's fucking weird up there, or whatever he's saying. And this thing fucking banks at 90 degrees like that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to suppose that's a UFO, but that's pretty fucking weird.
Yeah.
Right? So, do I believe that there are parts of the world that we have not yet figured out or been exposed to or whatever else? 100%.
Yeah.
Right? 100%.
100%.
But it's also funny to me that we have this argument because if I walk by an anthill, I'm not going to stop and hang up.
Really?
Generally.
I guess there's a lot of anthills. I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I got shit to do now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And by the time the Jackie Mason aardvark shows up, it's like, hey, Ant, where you going, Ant? So, the guy over there, give me a finger to go over there. Remember Johnny Carson? Yeah. So, my point is that, yes, I do believe it, but I feel that there's so many things that have to happen. There has to be an interest, right? Like, it's not, they don't just show up and be like, you know
What
I
would
mean?
make me laugh, though, is if there were actually already extraterrestrials disguised as people on this.
Oh,
Earth.
like a la They Live?
Yeah, that's a great movie.
That's a
man.
great
Roddy
movie.
Rowdy Piper
Fucking
was
right, that's a
good.
great film.
It was a great film. I
Yeah.
love the concept when he
Yeah.
puts on the glasses and sees all the messages and everything.
I mean, it was no V, but it was
well,
good.
no. Anyway, so yes, we've completely digressed.
Yeah, we're so
no
sorry.
longer talking about
Should we try-
driving.
you
We're
wanna-
still taking a drive, which is nice.
He wants
We've
to say something. Well, driving is like flying a spaceship, but with a spaceship.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah. Kind of like golfing is. They're throwing a hand grenade. It's like
Golfing is nothing but
Not with a
tennis with
ball.
longer sticks. That's all it is,
Right.
right? Hockey is football
So,
with a puck and a
did you ever
nothing.
get a last thing about driving
No, I
in?
cut him off.
Because
I cut him off.
Well, I sort of did. I said stuff that we didn't even talk about, which except for mentioning it
and
briefly.
then by saying it, you talked about it.
By
So
saying
you
we talked about
you
it.
fulfilled your prophecy,
Yes,
and
I
that's
did.
all that
So
matters,
yes.
Jeff, is that you fulfill your prophecy. So next season is season 9, and we're going to get.
Wow,
through, we're gonna
that's
get
crazy.
I know we're going to get
Shit.
through that, and then season 10 coming.
You know what
up.
I'd like to have? I'd like to have a retrospective of the seasons. You know, we can bring up some photos of what we looked like 9 episodes ago,
Sure, yeah.
just to show the passage of time.
Yeah,
think
I've
you'll
aged a
probably
lot in
look
18 months.
Exactly the same, except for facial hair.
Yeah.
You look exactly the same. I'll probably have gotten bigger over.
I feel like
The
that's a
last
little hard on
season.
you, no?
Did you say hard on? Anyway, what we're going to do is on season 10,
We're better than that.
we're going to do top 10s, and we are going to be looking back.
Top
at
10s? Why
Top
are we doing
10s.
Oh,
Idiot. Top 10s of the
the
subjects.
big blue pen is quite there.
The top 10 subjects that we've discussed, and we're going to try and update it and have some new relevant information, hopefully.
Is that what we're doing?
I think so. In season 10, it's all going to be all about the 10s, and then we'll have you. I think what we'll have you do for your.
Uh-oh.
No, it'll be good. You'll.
Well, tell me.
We'll not tell you.
I wanna
Off
know.
air. Producer's giving me the signal. He's in the front beside the driver. But he won't put the glass down, so I can't hear him. But he's probably.
It's
he's
very
probably
weird
saying,
that he won't
rap like this.
Put the glass down.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're uppity these.
And some
limo
uncomfortable
drivers.
noises coming from the front part of the car, if I could just say.
Yeah.
Also, you said we were going to stop for pogos.
Well, we are right now. We're
All right.
at Pogoland, and it's.
Pogos are delicious.
I would love a pogo right now, to be honest.
Who wouldn't? Really?
I know, seriously. It's been years since I've had them. The X was the last place I think I've had one.
We should do a show on the X.
Why?
Yeah.
Because it's hilarious to me how much different amusement parks are now.
Why don't we just do a show on amusement parks?
Well,
As
because the
opposed to
X was
one-
well, because the X was great if for no other reason than when you walked in, everything smelled like ash
And vomit.
and vomit.
Yeah.
Like
And the
it
big-
was,
and the big bag vacuums. Remember those?
yeah.
I love
yeah.
those. That was one of the great things.
and the little white chocolate donuts where if you got them
Oh,
hot,
the little
they'd
one,
melt.
tiny,
Tiny
oh,
Tom donuts.
so
yeah, Tiny
good.
Tom, and they come out.
Well, that's
and
what
they
I mean. Is like it's a very
Yeah. It
wasn't
Ottawa-centric kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it wasn't just fun eating them, which of course it was fun. It was fun watching them being made.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Which,
because
of
you
course,
could
was the
follow
first-
it. You could follow
Yeah.
it also
So
the dough. And
it wasn't just how delicious they were, which
True
was
that.
a big
And that's
thing.
why I wanted to talk about it because what
All
we
right.
were entertained by when
Yep.
we were kids
Yep.
doesn't seem to fit the bill anymore. Right? Like,
Like kids these days aren't fascinated by donuts being made. Is what you're saying.
dude, as a kid, I mean, and granted, I was a fat kid, husky. You know, there's a whole section at Sears devoted to me when I was a kid. By the way.
Yeah, I know.
And then I'd go and look at the regular clothes, and the security guard would be like, "Move along,
You
move
don't
along.
belong here."
You need to graze somewhere else, young man."
Ooh.
I was
Ouch.
fat guy in underalls or overalls or underoos. What are those called?
I think
Overalls.
for women. But anyway,
Underoos for everybody.
so okay, maybe we'll do a show about exhibitions or the
Or the
X,
hat.
or
an exhibition in the hat.
in the hat, and then we're gonna. Well, I think the next time we're together, we should do that topic.
Cool.
all
I'm
the- I
totally
think
on
that's
board for that. I think
brilliant.
that'd be fun.
So okay, so I guess that's all the time because I don't even know how long this episode is, but it's probably very long. But I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I want to
It was
say
entertaining, I would hope.
as we are filming this, we're going to be hitting 2020 in just a couple of days. So I want to wish you a happy New Year, Lou.
You too, buddy.
And Jeff, you a happy New Year.
It's so awkward.
Good.
Happy New Year.
That one was easier.
How do you do?
How do you do?
How do you do?
How do you-
What's going on there?
Well, I wanted to make sure the angle was right.
That's
And then you know what? We're gonna go above and beyond, and we're gonna keep going. Season 9 is gonna come up, and then we're gonna do season 10 is gonna be very exciting, and we'll see what the future holds. But I hope 2020 is good to all of you. I hope it's good to all of us.
Same to you. Same to both
And
of
I
you.
just hope just some great shit happens. It would be nice
Yep.
for some really great shit to happen in the world as well as in everybody's life.
Yes, if anyone out there would like to invest in some artists, I'm not dropping hints.
Right, but
Yeah. Money for artists.
How entertaining would it be to have us do this in someone's home?
you know what I'd like to do a show on? I would like to do a show on this crowdsourcing, crowdfunding.
That's interesting.
Because I think there are some things. It's gone from, and I have no issues with
Yeah.
people making a
I know your
crowdfunding
point,
page,
though.
right, for someone who's been in an accident or lost their house or some great tragedy has happened, whatever. But it get to a point, it crosses a line when someone says, you know, I've never been. I'd really like to go to Portugal because I always wanted to, and I could never
Yeah.
afford it.
And yet there are people that still give them money.
I know, but why?
I don't know, because there are people in the world who really need money.
All right. Well, maybe there's
You know
no
what I mean?
show. I just think.
No, I think
a lot of
I
it's
have
fucking
agree.
stupid.
I don't really get it.
Anyway, in order for you to find out what we really do end up talking about, stick around. We'll watch season 9. Hope you enjoyed this past season and all.
Check out past episodes.
Yeah. Oh, there's like 8. There's now 8 seasons.
8 seasons, folks.
I hit the door of the limo with my arm.
That's right. We've been on almost as long as MASH.
That's right. And we're gonna surpass Matt.
That's right. Fuck MASH.
Yeah. Fuck that horrible show.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Alan
I'm
Alda was a
kidding.
genius.
I'm kidding. So until next season, I'm Norm.
I'm Jeff.
There's only one
I'm
person
Lou.
left. Only one person left, Lou.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Get on the fucking ball.
Wow.
We'll see you next time on
See
the
you next
Meltdown.
time.
Ciao.
Ciao.